now proudly presented on SNME. That's Sunday night's main event.
Heavy traffic during 4-5. Gotta hustle on your own time. Color people every port side. We just people from the north side. Want some teammates at the shore fine. Winter ready on the foe ties.
Hey guys, what's going on? It's your host, your boy George Mackay, back here in the Straight Talk Studios. Now, when this episode drops, it's going to be sometime in October, so spooky season's around. Obviously, I'm going to talk horror movies and spooky stuff with this gentleman, pick his brain on that. But without further ado, let me welcome the next man up in Ontario, and I'll get to what that means in a little bit. The one and only Van City Vulture, Judas Icuras. How are you, sir?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm fantastic, man. Again, thank you so much for giving us the time on our podcast to talk all things you and let people who may not know you so well get a deep dive into everything that is Judas Icuras. So
Awesome.
First thing is, when I introduced you as the next man up. Now, if people may not know that, Josh Alexander recently returned to Straight Talk Wrestling. He's been on the show about 5 or 6 times. It's been an honor and privilege to have him and call him a friend. And I asked him who in Canada we should be keeping our eyes on, is who is the next man or woman up we should really be paying attention to. And he said you. He said Judas Icuras is the guy you got to keep your eyes on. He had a match with you, and since then he's been following you, and he likes everything he sees. Yeah. So when you get some kind of an endorsement like that from the longest reigning Impact World Champion and arguably one of the best talents Canada has produced in the modern era of pro wrestling, what does that mean for you?
Yeah, I mean it's crazy too, because it's somebody like prior to our match that I really kind of looked up to as far as like style wise, and kind of like presentation wise. So to like have that match, obviously, just because he worked pretty frequently at 365 or PWA at the time, and to like have that opportunity from Eddie Osborne, who booked the match and everything. It just like it all worked super well, and I'm really glad, I'm really happy that he really liked the match. And it feels really cool too, because like after the match he was very happy, and I was stoked. It was hard fought, it was tough. It was everything that I wanted as well. And for him to like continuously, even though like it's been like 2, maybe even like 3 years removed from that, I think, yeah, pretty close. I think it was early 2020. For him to like still be vouching for me, I think it is so cool. You know what I mean? To still have me in his mind and still be like watching me. Like he still messages me every once in a while, and we still talk. And yeah, I haven't seen him probably in about a, oh no, I saw him actually pretty recently, like earlier this year. But yeah, it's just we don't see each other pretty often. But for him to like still be thinking about me and watching my stuff and watching my career, it's insanely cool. But it also adds like a bit of like good pressure, you know what I mean? Like that somebody like that is looking out for the stuff that you do, and the quality that you kind of give out. So yeah, it's really massive. That's really cool. It's a really crazy general feeling. Yeah, it's hard to pin down.
I like that crazy general feeling, though.
Yeah.
That's a great answer to that.
Thanks.
Now, I actually had the honor and privilege to call your match at Destiny World Wrestling a couple weeks ago. I was on the commentary table, and I was able to call that match. And you went up against my best friend, Gabriel Fuerza. He's never admitted it, but also never denied it. So it's factual. And you went head to head with someone who, looking at you guys from a distance or at the peripheral, you guys mirror each other in terms of look, style, ring awareness, ring IQ. It was literally like watching a mirror image of a person fighting themselves. It was an incredible match to call and an incredible match to take in. I mean, that was your introduction to a lot of us here in Ontario, because I had heard your name, but I'd never had a chance to see you live. So all of a sudden I see you, and you just absolutely steal the show. You two arguably had match of the night next to the main event. Just to get this kind of whole thing in perspective, your career has started off like a whisper, but now it's like a yell. Everybody knows who Judas Icuras is and what he brings to the table. And how important is it for you? I mean, accolades and achievements and clout is great, but having people consistently talking about you after your 20-minute match weeks later, I mean, that's like you mentioned it earlier, good pressure. And if people don't know what good pressure and bad pressure is, we'll get to that in a minute. But what's that like, knowing that people are still, your matches are still resonating weeks after you've had them?
Yeah, I mean that's what going into a match. That's always kind of like the idea that you should or should try and have. I know it doesn't really matter like where you are or what kind of audience you're in front of or what you want to present, as long as you're still presenting like the same the same overall persona that you're wanting to give off, and the same overall vibe that you're wanting to have everyone know. I think it's just, yeah, it's insanely important to just be like consistent. And I think I try and do that for the most part. Some outliers, obviously, but it's also fun to have fun there. But yeah, it feels really cool. Because that's what we're trying to do, right? So when it does work out like that, and everything, obviously you can do so much beforehand, but like once it's completed and done and over with, I think it's important too to be happy and be able to look back on those kind of matches and be happy with it, and yeah, hope you can kind of return and one up it again. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think
Yeah.
you will. I don't think Destiny World Wrestling or any other promotions on Ontario are if you are not on their short list, you absolutely should be, because everyone
Thank
should
you.
see you work, and you should go up against the best that Ontario has. And I mean that with all of the respect in the world, because I've never stepped in a ring, but I've been a wrestling fan my whole life, and now I'm a commentator here in Ontario with 3 or 4 different promotions, which is a blessing, and it's
That's
very
awesome.
humbling. Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate
Very
that.
cool.
Yeah, and it's great to be the voice of Ontario, because let's be honest, I don't have a face for pro wrestling, but I do have a voice. It's very calm, it's very soothing, it's also very sarcastic. So a lot of times I can pull off that Bobby the Brain Heenan or Jesse the Body Ventura vibe very easily, I think.
Nice.
So good pressure, bad pressure.
Yeah.
Bad pressure would be, I gotta go to work tomorrow. Then I gotta go to the gym. I gotta make sure all my bills are paid. I gotta book this flight. I gotta make sure I pack all my gear. I gotta double check that I packed all my gear. And then there's good pressure, like Josh Alexander still keeping tabs on you years later, removed from your match. Good pressure, like going one-on-one with arguably one of the greatest X Division champions of all time in Chris Sabin, and just building this legacy already at such a young age of who exactly Judas Icuras is and who he wants to be. So do you feel like I've hit the nail on the coffin in terms of good pressure and bad pressure, in terms of kind of describing it to people?
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy though too, because they kind of sometimes end up being one and the same. Like it's very easy for good pressure to turn into bad pressure, or bad pressure to turn into good pressure. Um, it just kind of depends on how you're able to kind of like eat it and look at it. Especially like kind of the things that kind of just pop up on you randomly, or even things that you've known for long in advance. I think both of those can like come with their difficulties, and then their positives as well. Just like trying to figure out, whether either you get too much time to think about it and then you get, anxiety about it, or you don't have enough time and you get anxiety about it. You don't have enough time to prepare, you feel like. It's just yeah, I think it just depends on how you're able to look at it, how you're able to factor in kind of your regular own life as well. Like your regular job, your life, your family life, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I think if you can kind of step away every once in a while and just yeah, just be kind of grateful and happy where you are, and the opportunities you're getting, and then I feel like you can switch it back to good pressure again. So it really does depend. Yeah, that's hard.
Yeah,
Yeah.
again, a very wise answer, and again, I definitely know I have you outnumbered by a decade and a bit for sure. Okay, I'm almost 40. I know you are still well into your 20s, so that's good. Uh, Again, so young, but already figured out who you are in and outside of the ring. It's great to find yourself as early and as young as you have. But Judas Icuras, again, if you look on your Instagram, Born Sinner, Van City Vulture, there's all these monikers that kind of follow. And I feel like the character of Judas Icuras, I don't know how well it mirrors you personally. You're very quiet and soft spoken, but in the ring, you can go and you have no ability to smack somebody in the face, but also have this shit-eating grin on your face when you're like, yeah, I'm whooping your ass and I love every minute of it. So what it is about Judas Icarus that you kind of walk that line between who you are behind the curtain and who you are in front of the curtain? Where does Judas mesh?
For sure. Yeah. I guess it kind of yeah, I think I like to present just like personally, just like very open and um yeah, like approachable, I guess. For sure. That's the vibe I'd really like to give off, at least every single time I meet somebody. And then yeah, I mean the character is kind of just a mix of what I appreciate in like different, like disciplines of like art, different disciplines of like wrestling, and then yeah, I feel like that's kind of more what it is, as opposed to like an offshoot of like my own personality. It's kind of just more what I appreciate the most in other wrestling and in other like forms of art, like music and uh like films and stuff. But I think a lot of the time they say that like your character should be not like super far away from like what you are or who you are. And I think that's, true to some extent, but I think also um you can kind of get further and further away as you become kind of more comfortable in who your character is and who you want it to be. I think that's the most important part, is who you want it to be. And even if it feels uncomfortable for quite a while, I think it's just like you got to sit in the uncomfortableness of it. It won't feel right for quite a while, and that's just the case. It feels like for everybody, like it doesn't feel completely right for quite a while, and I'm still figuring it out. I'm nowhere close to um, perfecting who I want to be and what I want to give off exactly as a presentation. So yeah, I think it's just finding whatever speaks to you. And the way I present in the ring is something that I'm happy with, and I want to kind of continue and dig deeper in exploring how I can even pin down more exactly uh what like the character is, or what the overall presentation is. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I totally get that and I understand that.
Hmm.
And I mean, a lot of people who might not know their mythology or their biblical history,
Mm.
Judas was obviously the apostle that sold out Jesus. And
Yeah.
Icarus in Greek mythology flew too close to the sun. He achieved flight as a human, but flew too close to the sun and fell because the gods didn't want to have somebody competing with them.
Mm.
So when you mash those two very different juxtapositions, again,
Hmm.
somebody who sold out the Son of God and somebody who tried to fly to become a god and fell from grace, both characters ideally falling from grace at one point or
Mm.
another in their lives. How did you come up with meshing Judas and Icarus together in such a
Mm.
fluid form?
Yeah. So I mean, and I think a lot of people yeah, a lot of people have like a lot of questions. It's usually positive for the most part about the name, but I hear some negatives as well, because it is kind of a hard pill to swallow. It sounds kind of corny, I think, at times, for sure. Um and then, like, my trainer thought the same thing for a while, like when I had decided that that's what I wanted, and what I wanted to be called and presented as, and there was a bit of pushback there, but he was very much willing to let me figure it out on my own, and I'm really happy with uh yeah, where I've gotten, and what I've stuck with it. I getting there though, it's hard to say. I think Judas was always a must for me for whatever reason. Judas felt like um yeah, something that just had to be part of it. I think that was like really just like the, core to the apple of the idea of what I wanted my character to, and my presentation to always be like. So I think that's really helped me just, branch further out into what I want to be. But it was for sure. And then Icarus, yeah, Icarus was harder to come by. I think I had a couple different options and things that I kind of floated around. But yeah, I'm happy with what I ended up choosing. I think it was good, but yeah, Judas was always just kind of the main piece, honestly. Yeah, and just working around that, how it made sense. I don't think I super duper did it on purpose to like rhyme. um, I was thinking of like I don't know. I just wanted like a uniquer sounding name too. Yeah, yeah,
Listen, it sticks out in your head. It 100% does. You cannot forget
right.
the name Judas Icarus. So, in my opinion, when I saw it, I was like, I dig it. I did.
Right.
I've come up with wrestling names when I've created my own characters in video games, and they're always horrible. Like
Yeah,
Soldier, Desperado, Ghost. I'm
sure.
like boring. I'm very boring with my name choices. I play it
Mm.
safe. If I was a pro
Yeah, yeah,
wrestler, I'd play it very safe. But
sure.
you went out and you went on a limb, and I dig everything about it. So run with the name as long as possible, because
Mm.
I feel like that name has now built this legacy. And speaking of legacies, we definitely have to talk about you and Chris Sabin. I mean, we're talking about you and Josh Alexander 3 years ago. You and Chris Sabin happened a few months ago. So
Yesterday, or not 2 days ago, 2 days
2 days ago. So yeah,
Yeah.
sorry, my apologies.
All good, all
Well,
good.
actually, this would be, because we're airing it later. This, yeah, about a month and a bit ago. So there you
Oh,
go. We're on point.
sorry, sorry,
No, it's
sorry.
okay. Don't worry
I
about it.
forgot.
It's all good. So it happened literally a couple days ago. You're fighting literally someone who is synonymous with the middleweight division, someone
Oh,
who is synonymous with the X division, someone who is probably the grandfather of modern day tag team wrestling in
for
terms
sure,
of the smaller teams and
for
how they
sure.
build their arsenals in those
Hmm.
tandem maneuvers. How does
Yeah.
it feel to be sharing the ring with someone who has the legacy of a Chris Sabin and hanging with him to the point where I know for sure? I mean, I wasn't in the building, but I know he was impressed. I don't give a fuck.
Mhm.
I'm gonna say it. I know it.
Oh. Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's hard to find like a for sure way to like pin it. And I think it'll take like some time for sure to like actually um resonate on it and let it kind of sink in a bit because yeah it was something I wasn't 100% sure uh what was going on for a bit there, and then so just to kind of like just super random. It's one of those ones you just got to already be prepared for, which is crazy. Like it's uh yeah I don't know. It's not a lot I got right now from it. I'm still just kind of reeling and just kind of chilling on it, and not and just like reposting like the pictures and the videos and stuff. And it's just like yeah, it's insanely cool. He's MCMG is one of those teams that you obviously do like study for. You do just like I gotta create a tag team move, or let's that's exactly who you watch. And yeah, I don't know. Again, yeah, it's just gonna take some time. Yeah, it'll take some time to figure out how I
Hey,
feel about it.
and that's okay. You're still reeling for. I'm still reeling for. When I looked on the Instagram today just to make sure there was nothing I missed, I was like, "Holy shit,
Yeah.
Chris Sabin! That's incredible." So
Nuts.
kudos to
Yeah.
you, man, because that's what I'm talking about this legacy that you're building and
Yeah.
these matches that you're leaving it. And would you agree with me on this point where I always say this, and it may be a cliche question that's synonymous with straight talk now, but in terms of pro wrestling, I consider it to be an art form. It's almost like the perfect dance. If
Yep.
you find that one dance partner that you can groove with, you can have some of the most amazing agility and move sets that come out of this 15-20 minute contest.
Mm.
And I don't think people really appreciate the art form for what it is. If you're a wrestling fan, you definitely appreciate the art form, being able to
Mm.
watch a story with no words but understand everything at its core. Pro wrestling is always going to be good versus evil, bad guy versus good guy, hero versus villain. That's wrestling at its core. But
Mm.
in the story that they tell, to get to from that bell ringing to the bell ringing again at the end, there's so many more layers. Do you feel like people still sometimes maybe don't understand the artistic value of a pro wrestling match?
I think so for sure. Like I think, but not like knowingly they don't appreciate it. You know what I mean? Like, a couple months ago, I was at a Dusk Pro Wrestling show, and it was Daniel Makabe versus Nicole Matthews. And the beginning of the match was just very technical, like genius, amazing level, like chain ground mat wrestling. And it felt like, and I think a lot of the time, sometimes like the crowd doesn't know how much they appreciate it almost. They're used to, the whole show prior to that having, not the same build up as that. You know what I mean? Like it's just kind of getting right to like the good guy kind of getting on top of him, bad guy taking him down, back and forth. You know what I mean? Whereas they had the opportunity to have, more time to kind of feel out each other and create more of a story. And I think sometimes people just don't realize that like, some of the best movies of all time are, 3.5 hours. And you sit there for some of the movie being like, holy fuck, this movie, sorry, holy holy
No, you're good.
cow.
We're all
Okay.
fucking kinds, bro. You're good. No
Okay,
problem.
cool. This movie is 3.5 hours. Like, oh my God, I've been sitting here. But then like by the end, you feel this like like this whole, like it's like a whole entire feeling, of just like um yeah, like you just feel like you watched a complete story. And sometimes, yeah, it's like obviously more sped up when it's like the opening match, and it's fast paced, and it's just like boom, 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 pop, done. You know what I mean? So I feel like that part, I think, definitely gets not appreciated, like the build up into things. And I think that's the same for like storyline wise as well. You know what I mean? Sometimes people don't appreciate that, like one match is going to have kind of a shitty ending to it, just because it'll be worth it for the big payoff at the end. And I think that's something that's really important to me, is when you get those, because I think those are how the best stories were made, just like even by accident, like D-Bry WrestleMania 30 kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Like just like yeah, you just like stuff that takes time and is worth building, and is 100% like an art form. And I think that's what really makes me appreciate wrestling too, is I do feel like a bit of like artistic, um like freeing from a lot of the matches, especially when you really kind of get going, get the juices flowing, and you can really create something really special. It's very intricate and very multi-layered. Yeah, that's when pro wrestling gets like really special to me specifically. Yeah, and especially being able to appreciate other people's way of viewing it as well. Whether that be, like deathmatch, even hardcore, submission, grapple wrestling, or just like, 60-minute friggin' Iron Man kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Like it's just, it takes time sometimes. Yeah, it takes time, I think. Yeah.
I
That's my
like
big
that.
one.
It takes time. It absolutely
Yeah.
does take time. But when you get
Mm.
to those, like you said, those ultimate payoff moments, then
Mhm.
you're sitting back in your chair and you're like, holy crap, man, after that match, I need a drink, I need a cigarette,
Yeah.
I gotta go walk around for a few minutes. Like,
Yeah.
whoo, it was so good. And I
Yeah.
totally get where you're going with that. So you've
Yeah.
mentioned a lot throughout this conversation so far. Artistic. That word has been thrown around a lot. You've
Yeah.
mentioned various art forms, movies, film,
Yeah.
music, all these things.
Mhm.
I myself, I went to the Toronto Film School and
Oh,
I
rad.
studied film, and
Very cool.
I majored in film and television production,
Oh,
and I
that's
minored in
awesome.
film history. So I do know a thing or two
Nice.
about film.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I actually, this is very exciting for me. Like I said, this is going to drop in October. So the
Mhm.
spooky season is around. I don't know your feeling on horror movies or thrillers, but are you a fan?
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
perfect.
I'd say so. Yeah, I maybe more so, like a couple of years ago, but still, yeah, still so. Yeah,
It doesn't matter
definitely.
when you get on the bandwagon, just you're
Mhm.
on the bandwagon now. That's all that
Yeah,
matters.
yeah.
So my daughter and I have been going down the rabbit hole of films that we never watched, because when they came out, she was too young. My wife's a giant chicken. So I had to wait till my daughter was old enough. So I finally have somebody to watch horror movies with. Thank God.
Mhm.
Thank God. but we've really been watching. Recently, we got into Sinister, we got into Insidious, we went back and watched The Conjurings again, which we absolutely love that entire franchise. But when it comes to modern day horror films, specifically anything made from 2010 on, I would say the last 13 years or so of horror movie film.
Yep.
What would you say yourself personally is one of your favorites from this last, 10 years of new age horror films?
New age horror. Yeah, I mean the both of the Ari Asters, I think, are my pretty go-tos. I think they're kind of one of the ones that like drew me back in to like the horror genre. I felt like it got pretty, not like super like stale, but it got less like experimentative, I think, for a while. And it's not that it like it goes against a lot of like um just like regular movie tropes. It's not that it's completely against those either, but it's just the way it went about, and the way it was presented, I think, was like very unique. And I know it's like Midsummer, I think, is a controversial one for some people, I think, for some reason, but for me, I think that was one of like the peak horror movies, I think, of the last decade for sure. Just the way that it came about. I think sometimes, yeah, people kind of are taken back by like some of the like shock value kind of um spots in it, and I think that it's a really interesting replacement from like kind of the like jump scare kind of horror that I think was like pretty prevalent for quite a while. So I think it's like almost like takes its place in there, and for some reason it resonates more with me with just like more of an overall like vibe to a movie, I think. It feels like jump scares are kind of just like 1 second and then you're like, oh my god. Whereas like these like really shocking crazy moments, like yeah, like in the Midsummer, like the sacrificial like jump off the cliff or whatever. Like I feel like that is like it stays there, and then it's like obviously really gruesome, really heavy, really gross. But it's like you're still like that's still like there until like the end. You know what I mean? It's just like it's creating the overall vibe of the movie, I think. And not to say that jump scares like don't have their place too. I think they 100% do. But yeah, I think that's so yeah, I guess yeah, like pretty basic, but yeah, like Midsummer and Hereditary were really big ones. Like recency bias too. I watched Talk to Me. Have you seen that one?
I have.
Yeah, I really like that one. I thought it was good. Again, it was kind of like it was like little it was like the same, like it wasn't like super groundbreaking or not tropey or anything, but I just the way it was like kind of presented, I think, was kind of fun. Another one, and you can argue for sure whether or not this is horror or not. But Cabin in the Woods, I think for some reason is just it was just next level to me for some reason. Just like it's literally the movie of like horror tropes, just like absolutely like um broken apart. It's like making fun of horror movies, while also being like kind of like a really experimental, kind of silly movie in itself. That one really, I really like that one for whatever reason. It's like very campy, kind of
hmm
just
hmm
uh stupid, but those ones like catch me every once in a while. I'd say like those are my pretty top ones. I don't know about Talk to Me for sure, but I'd say like those three really like stand out to me just as pretty significant, just in the role they play in my mind for horror movies, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree. There's Hereditary and Midsummer. You're absolutely right. I
Mhm.
do enjoy the artistic value of those films. And again, it's
Mhm.
all about the build, right? Starts
Yeah.
off very slow, but once it hooks you, fuck, does
Mm.
it hook you in a very uncomfortable yet comfortable way, if that makes sense. It's uncomfortable,
Yeah.
it's still comfortable. It's like
Yeah.
that. And for me, one of the movies that my daughter and I stumbled upon that we absolutely love, and now it's become regular rotation. We watched it about 2 years ago, but it's a movie called Come Play. It's about a boy who has
Okay.
autism, and he can
Mhm.
only communicate through electronic devices. So your
Mm.
iPads, your iPhones. He's got apps that help him talk to his teachers, talk to his mom. And
Mhm.
then on this app or on this computer, he downloads an app that's a story, an urban legend. of a
Mm-hmm.
character very much like a Slender Man, if you will.
Mm.
And this character decides, or eventually becomes part of this boy's life,
Yeah.
where he can't outrun it because it transfers from screen to screen to screen, and it can
Mm.
move through screens. And considering it's very much a play on technology overtaking our lives.
Sure. Yeah.
And just this was one of the rare horror movies where at the end I was sad, and not sad because it was over, sad because the ending I felt was horrible. The ending was fantastic to me.
Mm-hmm.
I was sad because I felt so bad for this kid. I'm like, fuck,
Mm.
man, this kid can't catch a break.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
highly recommend anybody that has not seen Come Play, I highly recommend to check that one out. I really did enjoy it. But
Yeah.
for me, I'm a classic, Halloween guy. I like my Freddy's.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of Jason. Jason can bite the big one. I mean, hockey masks are not entertaining to me at all.
Mm-hmm.
And Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the original, definitely has a special place in my heart. But anything beyond that, I don't have the energy for.
Sure.
Leatherface was a one-off classic that you need. But I
Mm.
feel like you're right. The artistic value of what we're seeing now, also X and Pearl, were
Yeah.
very,
Oh,
very fun
very
brushes of
cool.
breath there. Very
Very
well done.
cool.
I mean,
Yeah.
I felt a little bit uncomfortable when in X, the two old people are finally sleeping together, and you see a little bit more than you really want to see. But I
Yeah.
get
Yeah.
why it had to happen.
Sure.
It just, for me, it was like a lot. I was like, whew, is
Yeah.
that what I'm going to look like when I'm 75 trying to get some?
Sure.
Like, that's
Yeah.
uncomfortable.
I feel like A24 as a whole has done like a really cool and an amazing job of like sponsoring like the correct films just for like pushing forward like not even like strictly horror, but horror and like thriller kind of movies. I think yeah, like Lighthouse and stuff like that
Mhm.
one's like super borderline as to like what it is and what it means and stuff, but it's like a super interesting watch. And then like like a horror one as well that's theirs, Saint Maud. Have you seen that one?
No, I have not.
I think that one's on Netflix. That one's really cool. That one's really
Okay.
cool. It's like pretty, yeah, it's not like base like possession. It's definitely a lot more to it. Yeah, I like ones that just kind of have a little tinge to the regular. Yeah. So
I
yeah,
like I feel like you and I can we can definitely vibe on the out of the box style of horror films, and I'm
for
digging that.
sure.
What about
Yeah.
music? What
Mm,
what does Judas Icarus rock on his phone when he's at the gym, when he's,
mhm.
driving to a show? What's your kind of go-to playlist? Like what are you rocking these days?
Yeah, I'm honestly one of the people who does not have like a regular like playlist, and I think that freaks a lot of people out. So when I'm at the gym, I'm kind of just letting my entire like song selection. I'm an Apple Music guy, unfortunately. My entire like
I'm
song
right there with
selection.
you. There's nothing wrong
Thank
with
you.
that. I'm
Yeah.
right there with
I
you.
usually get a lot of grief for that, or yeah. So yeah, I'm glad I got some supporters. But yeah, I just let my entire song selection play for like most. I'm also kind of privy to just listening to like my top the last like 10 songs that I kind of downloaded as well. Kind of like more specifics. I got like regulars like indie rock. So like Peach Pit is one.
Mhm.
They're like a local Vancouver band. Very like soft like indie rock stuff. I really like them. And Travis Williams has put me on to Skeggs previously. They're like surfer rock
Mhm.
from like Australia, I believe. They're really good. They're very um euphoric feeling kind of in the kind of look at some of their more like upper lifting songs, I guess. Um yeah, it's hard. Like there's not a lot of ton of like very consistent artists that like kind of pop into um my song selection and stuff. It just kind of like what I can find through, different playlists or listening through social media pops up something. I listen to like a decent amount of not as much anymore, but like still like hip hop and R&B and rap. I really like Amine and Black and Earth Gang and just the regular guys too, like Kendrick and J. Cole and
Oh,
Kanye, and
what
they're
about the
all.
Rascals? You're a Van City boy. You got to rap a couple of the Rascals tunes on there, man.
I have one or two Rascals, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, One Mic, Rascals Wise, One Mic. I mean, Northern Touch obviously is a hip hop classic in Canada. You can't go anywhere without Northern Touch. And I would even say the one they did with Chaos and Top of the World, Barrington Levy. Chaos and Barrington Levy. Just Barrington Levy's voice, man. Ooh yay, night and day. Ah, fuck. I can listen to that track all day long. That's a banger. All right. So a couple more songs. I'm gonna let you go enjoy your afternoon. But when it comes to Judas Icuras and 2023 being just a fantastic year of growth that you've had this year. You even mentioned in the 5 question that this year has been really good. We're winding down. When this drops, it'll be October. 2 months after that, and 2023 is in the record books. It's gone. It's never coming back. At least for not 100 years, anyways. What's the plan for Judas Icuras to end this year and go into next year? Are you still just going to keep on that upward trajectory? Do you have plans to kind of soften it out a bit around the holidays and then kick back up in January? Like, what's the mindset for the rest of 2023?
Yeah, I think so. Me and a couple other of the Vancouver wrestlers have been like really blessed to have been put in a position. We received visas from working with Defy, which is an insanely unique opportunity. It usually doesn't come to anybody outside of some person that works for Impact, person that works for WWE, or a person that works for AEW. Outside of like or New Japan, I guess, like outside of those major companies, it's basically unheard of. So the idea that we were able to get confirmed and are able to cross the border into America for these bookings just freely and without stress of getting flagged at the border or something like that happening, I think is been an insane blessing. It's brought us a lot more opportunities just to venture down. So I think that's kind of what I'm still pushing for to the end of 2023. Yeah, we're not 100% sure when how much longer we'll have those, or what the opportunity will be afterwards. So I think the important part is just pushing through to I'm going to try and do a lot more East Coast of America kind of stuff, and as well as Ontario. Ontario's been like so good to me in having me out. The couple times I've been out, it's been about like 4 times this year, which is amazing. And shout out to all the companies that have had me out, like Smash, C4, Destiny, Barry, and Battle Arts. Like it's been really cool time. And yeah, I'm hoping to come out a couple more times as well. So I think it's still pushing. I think it's reaching out to more people. I think it's posting a bit more on social media, because sometimes I'm pretty privy to chilling out and not posting anything, and just kind of like
Right here,
hoping,
same.
yeah, just hoping other people post stuff so I can like retweet it or like put it to my story or something. So I think I gotta work more on that. But it's just yeah, it's difficult. Like I think people don't realize how much work it is to be like your social media manager, be your wrestler, be your agent, all at the same time. I think that kind of I think that gets lost sometimes on like just like fans and like even sometimes like other wrestlers and promoters. It is a pretty difficult job to take on as well, on top of like whatever you do during the week as well, like your shoot job, and which is something that I'm pretty happy with, and I'm very excited to go to work a lot of the time as well. But it just it's a difficult thing to balance the two. But I've been very fortunate. They've started to give me Fridays off, so I don't have to take them off every week now. So I'm a Monday to Thursday guy, which is awesome. So it just opens up a lot more opportunities to still be stable in my regular life, and then also have the opportunity to get myself out to the East Coast, and kind of show what I'm worth, and get myself down south, all this kind of stuff. So I don't think it's chilling out at all for the rest of 2023. I think it's pushing, and pushing a bit harder even, because I think there is room to do more. So Not chilling. Yeah.
I like that. Don't chill. No days off, dude. No days
Yeah.
off. Absolutely none.
For sure.
Judas Icuras, this has been a fantastic conversation. We appreciate the time. And I do want to let you know now you are officially a member of the Straight Talk family. Anytime you want to come back on, we will be more than honored and privileged to have you back on the show, my dude. Before you go, even though he already did say he's not active, but he's going to be more active. That's what 2023 is about. It's pushing through, being more active. Please, Judas, shout out your socials so everyone can keep up on your amazing journey.
Dude, okay, let me look up for 100% sure, because I have ones that are like Judas Icuras, and then ones like the Judas Icuras, and then I always get confused. So Instagram, Judas Icuras, just straight up Judas Icuras. And then X, we have the Judas Icuras. Facebook, I definitely lost my fan account, but you can be on there. You can like it. You can see all my old stuff. It's around. I might get, in it again one day. Who knows? I have no idea how to do it. Facebook doesn't really help me at all. But Instagram and X, are people doing it? I'm not 100% sure. I'll probably hop in there eventually. But I think those are the main ones that I've been frequenting, and I'll keep reposting and posting stuff and keeping everybody updated about what I'm doing. So yeah, those are the main ones.
Absolutely fantastic. And when this interview drops, don't worry, I will make sure to tag you in everything and send you the stories. So all you got to do is just repost. That's all you got. I will make it easy. I'll make it easy.
Cool.
All right, guys, that's it for this one. Peace, love, and wrestling. We'll see you next week. Peace.
Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and turn on that notification bell so you get notified each time we post a video. Alternatively, you can check us out on all podcast platforms and hosted on Podbean. We are also available on the SNME network. That's the Sunday Nights Main Event Patreon. Please feel free to check us out there as well. And don't forget to follow us on all social media platforms at _Straight Talk on Twitter, at Straight Talk Wrestling on Instagram, Straight Talk Wrestling on Facebook, Straight Talk Wrestling on TikTok, and of course, you can check out all our merch at ProWrestlingTees.com.
I don't need a nigga.